Hey, it's Nicole. Welcome back to the Serial Entrepreneur Show. We're so excited to have you listening in today to a cybersecurity expert. I'm telling you, friends, he's got 25 plus years, and he also has a doppelganger that's in Hollywood, and I can't wait for you to see the picture he brought with.
Hey, if you're an entrepreneur who usually fast forwards intros just like this one, this is the podcast for you.
Serial Entrepreneurs.
Ron, so glad to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
I want to start out a little bit different than I usually do with other guests.
Okay.
How would you finish the sentence? You know you're in cybersecurity when?
Everybody starts coming up and calling you like, I accidentally clicked on a link. My computer is shut down. I don't know why. All of a sudden, I'm getting these phishing emails. I don't know why. And next thing you know, you're being asked to get on panels.
Yeah. So I get messages from clients all the time. They'll be like text messages or screenshots via email. I'm not suggesting anybody should keep sending these to me. Maybe send them to Ron, but it'll be like, hey, is this legit? Hey, is this a scam? I mean,
Yes.
of course I carefully look, but I'm like, if you have to ask me, it probably is. I have a couple clients that they're just overly cautious and I'll be like, no, that one's
Yes.
legit. That's good.
Yeah, you can't trust anything. Trust nothing, as my mom used to say. Just trust nothing.
So Ron, tell all of us, what is it you do and who are you protecting?
I work a university professor. I teach a lot of my students to protect their data, keep their data private, although they don't like to. I mean, they're really good at snapping pictures. I could tell you that much. I work for Lake County government. I've spearheaded the Zero Trust Initiative. I also have seniors that I speak to in regards to protecting themselves because the technology is very overwhelming. I mean, they're used to picking up the phone. They're lonely. Nobody calls them. Obviously, there's lots of things that happen out there. I just try to share the information because the amount of dollars that are being stolen, like in 2023, is like $3 billion. That's of 88,000 people that reported. Just to give you some rough numbers.
So you are working at university level, so at Indiana University Northwest, and then you're
Mhm.
at Lake County, Indiana government complex,
Mhm.
right? So they probably want to rest in knowing, like, well, Ron's on the case, but they still need to be vigilant, is what I'm hearing. And then seniors, so that's some incredible work. You're doing the Lord's work here, just trying to like circle everybody, make sure everybody knows. So tell me, there's got to be a story there. What led you to this type of work?
As a kid, I always liked to take things apart. My father would go to me, "What'd you take that apart for? I just got this for you." And I go, "I just like to reverse engineer it and find out how it works and then explain it to somebody and how it works this way." I've always been, I guess, sort of a teaching person to explain things clearly because I've always found that people don't understand things and how things work.
Started off when you broke something your dad bought and you had
Well,
explained to your dad, basically. That's what I'm hearing. You had explained to your dad and why you should not get in trouble.
Right, exactly. I became a negotiator then.
Yes, right. Yes.
Why I did it, Dad, because I wanted to make it work better.
Right. Yes. So because you support a whole lot of leaders, decision makers, business owners, I mean, whether it's government or whether it's university, what do you think that everyone needs to hear today about protecting their environments that their
Okay.
employees, their teams work in?
You have to protect your data. It's like you have to just segregate information. You can't just connect everything together. You can't have one email account. You have to have separate email accounts. Then you don't have to worry about getting barraged, like your mailbox, right? It's just keeping things simple so that if something does happen, you can recover as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's a really good tip.
Because you don't even know where the information goes. That's the biggest problem today. It's kind of like laundry. Most people just stuff stuff in their closets, in their garages and stuff like that, and they just don't know what's there.
Okay, so the tips I'm hearing you say to us are one, inventory what you do have.
Correct.
I'm going to guess you don't like the password on a Post-it note. That's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is putting it in some type of password vault,
Yes.
right? So is there one that you recommend?
Yes. I use Apple's password manager.
Wait, okay, so wait, mind blown for a second. You're not an
Yes.
Android user, you're an Apple user.
Absolutely.
I didn't see that coming, folks. Didn't see that coming.
I've used every operating system out there.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah.
The one I liked the best obviously was BlackBerry, but they were,
No,
I hate to say it.
man,
but
I
used to
rewatched
love
that.
them.
Yeah, I watched that movie recently, and that was,
Yeah.
it was a blast from the past. It hurt. It hurt.
The Crackberry.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, wait, there was a third tip that I think you said in there that I think is important. You said segment. So you and I both were in the financial industry early on in our
Correct.
career. I was a licensed mortgage broker for 3 states.
Mhm. Okay.
And you better believe I had a personal laptop and
Right.
then I had my work laptop. The larger ones I worked for, it was an IBM. Man, I swear those things are indestructible.
They are.
And a lockdown, VPN access way before anybody else. not anybody else had a clue about VPN, but like I didn't find any other industries were concerned about that access. So to me, it's always just been second nature. Like now that we all have 3-factor authentication on so many things,
Right.
like I had to carry my little key fob around with me, right?
Oh, yes. The RSA
Right?
key fob. Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
But I'm hearing you say segment and that maybe some small businesses, some small startups, or even medium to larger organizations, they're not even telling their people, hey, you can't do your personal shopping while you're here. Like you've got to
Correct.
use a separate device for that. So simple things, that's what you keep saying, like it's simple, but I think people hear the word cyber security
Right.
and they think that it's really a list, and it's not. It is segment, protect your passwords, and take an inventory. What do you have?
What do you have? Because you have to keep things updated constantly. And if you don't know how to do it, contact me, contact somebody else. Be more than happy to give you some guidance on what to do. It's not as overpowering as you think it is, but it becomes overwhelming.
Telling me though that it's not really like it feels
No,
that, but really
it
it's still
feels that
always
way.
back to the basic.
As an example, your financial accounts, write a new email because all they're doing is trying to put the pieces together.
Sure.
Okay. And that's why they want to ban TikTok, because the Chinese government is pulling out data to compromise you 20 years from now. The software tool is pretty neat to use, easy to use. It's a great social media mechanism, but the problem is that it goes to 13 data point. Where's that at? They're trying to trace it down. I mean,
Yeah.
look at Google's incognito mode.
Yeah, talk about that with me for a minute. So I've noticed that when you do go incognito here lately, the last
Yeah,
year or so,
yeah,
it can still tell what your last search was. Well,
absolutely.
that's private browsing. What happened? What
Uh,
changed?
Well, there's 4,000 data brokers out there, a $200 billion industry.
Mhm.
So they're making money on it. I mean, on the dark web, as an example, just the numbers that I found, a medical record's worth $60 a record. A social security number's worth $15 a record. And a credit card's worth $3 a record. So you start adding those numbers up, you get a high volume of that. And then you're getting double extortion. They steal from the company and then they compromise you. It's an easy way to make money. I don't have to put a gun to somebody's head. You know, if
Mm.
you think about it, I don't have to go up and drive up to the bank.
So not incognito, it's
No,
not
it's not.
private
It's
browsing?
not. It's
Good.
recently, they just lost their lawsuit and they're forced to delete all that data.
Are they?
Okay.
Will it go back to private browsing then?
I don't think so.
No.
I
Mm.
don't think so. I
This
think,
is how I check when I'm running Google ads for someone in a different market. I want to
yes.
see if I'm not in Houston, if
Right.
I'm not in Boston, and I don't get very good data anymore to see what truly is private browsing. You know,
No, I
what?
understand. There's another one called Brave that's based on the Chrome
Okay.
platform. You might want to try that one.
Okay.
Because as far as browsing is concerned, I would suggest separate your browsing. One, you can use Firefox and just do for your logins, like your financial accounts. Your regular browsing, you use something like Brave. That way, if you go to something, it's not a big deal because they're trying to track everything. You
I'm the
know this.
marketer that wants to track
Yeah,
everything.
well, of course you do. There is good parts from a marketing perspective, but the sharing of data that identifies you as a human being is what the problem is. We've put a human emotion, which is trust, into a computer system. So stay informed on what's actually going out there and how your data is being used. And just make it harder for people to put the pieces together.
Okay, at least 2 questions more for you. First of all,
Sure.
something as simple as sending your kid's birth certificate in for soccer practice. If
Mhm.
folks at the government complex that you're protecting, making sure that their emails are secure, are you advising, for example, that they send that sort of thing via email or upload or however they're
No,
doing that to verify birthdays?
no, I'm not.
Yeah, like,
I'm
so
not
who so
condoning that.
my question always is, who's on that app? Somebody has to require the birth certificate. I understand. We gotta make sure that the kid was born in March or he was born in August or
Correct.
whatever. They're all gonna be professionals, so we gotta make sure that no one's cheating in the first grade. I get it. But my question is, who's not informing that app? Because they all go through an app, or if it's the YMCA, or who's not telling them on their IT team, like, hey, we can't really just have everybody like sending in birth certificates all the time. Where's that failure happening? Because someone needs to hear this today.
The CEO of the organization.
Yeah.
That's the start of the top. I mean, obviously you understand the structure of a board of directors and the chief executive officer. He's got to make decisions, but he has, marketing, reporting, and financial operations.
Sure.
Okay. Security has not basically gotten a seat on there. And these things are costly. But your point right there, it's just a common sense thing.
Yeah.
It's an identifier that identifies a human.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So the other question they ask is, why do you hang on to all the old data? If I'm no longer a customer of yours, like if I go to the YMCA, I'm no longer going to the YMCA now. Why do you
Right.
hang on to my information? Especially critical PII information.
Right.
Okay, the personal information that identifies you,
Mhm.
delete it. That's
Right.
what they forced Google to do with Chrome on Incognito.
Right.
You got to delete it now. That's going to have
Right.
to happen because you sit as a marketer, you want to solicit, former customers. Well, what do you really need to solicit me?
Right.
An
Very
email
agree.
or maybe a mailing address. Okay. That's fine because you can find that. Even at the government center, they are starting to privatize your property. You can search your property taxes.
No, yeah. I
Okay. And
could,
you can find the address,
yeah,
right?
totally.
Okay. So they're finally doing it for judges, public officials and stuff so that they can't personally go after them. I had a specific instance here where a person decided to contact the judge and her mom because they found her cell phone numbers online. She goes, how'd that happen? I go, you're on social media.
Which at least it was just the phone number, right? And it wasn't somebody showing
Right.
their house with a gun.
I found the form in the county building. She goes, well, hey, we have this form you can fill out. And I go, give me that form and I distribute it. They think to distribute it when they're at the desk, but they don't think to distribute it countywide. And who else might
Right.
be affected? I know it's a long answer to your question, but
No, no, it's a good one though,
it's
because you said security hasn't had a seat at the table. Because your first answer, you first said, well, it's at the CEO level, it has to start from the top. But I think though, assuming it starts from the top is the same assumption I can make as a parent of a soccer player, right? Only first grade, sure. But
yes,
if everyone has to do this, I have to submit it. I have to send it in, or what? What's the alternative? Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to walk that in. Okay.
yes, you
So
should
then
have to walk it in.
right. But as a parent, you make the assumption, well, like somebody at the top has made the decision that this is safe. So we submit it. But
That's
that's not
right.
always the case because you
No,
just said there's not a security person at the table with their
no,
filter and their hat on of like, where's that form? Because I think if that's not the case, we're all left to the young intern or the young IT person or older, fine, but they don't have the authority to say, hey, CEO, you're missing the point here in a few years.
yes, I've asked to be given advice to CEO regarding security. He won't listen to me. He goes, well, I told him all the risk involved. I go, take a step back for a minute. He started his business. He's made several different risks to grow the business, right? So risk doesn't mean anything to him.
Right.
You got to tell him nothing's going to work.
You
It's
just-
not going
right.
to work.
Or you're
Okay.
going to lose the business or your reputation because of this choice.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing that they're telling the actual security guys to build a relationship with the marketing person
Yep.
because you got to be able to craft the message properly because people are going to automatically think of you less because you didn't protect my information and the lawsuits are going to come.
This birth certificate example, is this why it'd be really, really important for people to start understanding what the blockchain could do for us in terms of security?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That we
Th-
can
this-
verify ourselves with. the
Right. Right. You can verify with it. The biggest obstacle right now is the people that want to get in because they can make a lot of money doing this. I mean, these are big businesses doing it, so I don't think it's the guy in the hood,
Sure, you're right,
typing at the
right.
computer. They're funding these things because big nation states like, Iran, Russia, China to some degree. And what happens is that they find another way to make money. Okay. They hack into our vulnerable systems.
Okay, so I think it's really important that we don't rush through this. So
Yes.
what you just said, Ron, I want to make sure everybody listening in the car or if they're on YouTube and they're just kind of half listening, what you're
Okay.
saying is hackers, when we use that term generously, loosely, it's not a guy in a hood, one guy in his basement, maybe a couple guys trying to do something good, right, bad, different, whatever he thinks is right for himself, for his pocketbook. It's not just that. We're talking about it nation states. It is a way of work for not a first world country like the US. It is larger organizations that are making money a different way. So
Yes.
that's what you're saying is as these areas have been sanctioned different ways, they're just finding a different way to make money. I just want to
Right.
make sure.
Because they're going to our weakest points. There's nation states that are in the business of ways to find money to fund weapons programs. That's all it is. And
Yeah.
it's scary. They've done it with, you've seen well, if you haven't become aware of it, I mean, they've hacked in the Defense Department back in
Yeah.
2015. They grabbed all the contractors and everything else. Why do you think they did that? Okay.
Right.
Like the Sony break-in a long time ago, there was a VP that found out that all the medical information that was being tracked internally, they knew that his child was special needs. Like, how did they know that? And why do they have to know that data? Because it's no business to them because you're in a compromisable position then. Because it's expensive to take care of, a special needs child, which is very sad. You don't need to retain that information because then it's going to affect your raises. That's why I don't think people understand clearly how you can be compromised. And that's what the Chinese are trying to do, is to get people compromisable.
Okay, let's get to zero trust. What the heck is it, Ron? Everyone that I've
it's-
seen in cybersecurity throws it around like we all know.
Oh,
it's
oh,
like
they-
bread. So let's
they-
break it down for folks.
Break it down. It's very simple. Zero trust is a strategy. If you're a corporation, you only have access to information that you need to do your job. Nothing more than that. Okay. You don't connect everything to the network. Like I don't have our badging system, how you get in the building here. I don't have that on the main network. I don't have our security cameras on the main network.
Sure.
You cannot compromise it unless you come in the building and find another way to do it. It's about just don't trust nothing.
So I'm picturing like this is some type of flow chart.
Yes, where'd the data go?
So anybody at any organization level could apply this in some way. So for example, Kyle, my husband, worked at TransUnion, downtown Chicago, 15 years.
Yes.
And he was in financial analysis on the international side and then the domestic side. So certainly he only had access to what he had access to. The funny part is everyone would hear, oh, he works at TransUnion. Hey, how about you help out that credit score of mine? Right?
Right. Exactly. Right.
And he's like, legit, that floor, not the technology, not nothing.
Right.
No, the entire floor locked down. Like his elevator could only, would just go right past it.
Yeah.
So essentially the same exact thing. And we can do that in our own organizations, whatever level. Can organizations reach out that you might consult with them?
Something they do as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then you also have a few publications. Maybe we can link to those as well, including 2018 Social Media Marketing, The Struggle of Secrecy, Safety and Security. So we'll link that as well.
Sure.
Tell me, what's one of the key lessons that you've learned that maybe you find yourself repeating again and again?
It's always the questions that you don't know to ask are the ones that create the biggest problems for you.
Yes, we don't know all these things, and we don't know how simple it can be the way that you've broken it down for us. So thank you so much for doing that.
You're quite welcome.
The other thing we don't know is, who do you look like, Ron? We got to see it.
Here we go. Here it is.
So if you are not on YouTube watching, be sure to check it out. Mark Ruffalo, folks.
This is my last presentation, and Mark Ruffalo underneath me. One of my actually former students sat on one of my panel discussions and
compared you to the Hulk. Did you give them an A? That's all I need to know. Like,
I did actually. I gave him a quiz on that.
Here's an A with a couple pluses. Thanks for saying I look like the Hulk. We will make sure the links are below, folks. He is on LinkedIn, that's for sure. We are both Indiana University alumni, and I'm so glad that we could be here together and to represent our school and what you do in this world. Thanks so much for keeping everybody safe.
Thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate the opportunity.